What is up, people? We're back. Another edition of the Breakdown here on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. I'm Max. He's Marcel. We don't need too much of the introductions, but hey, we're here to talk UFC 250 this week. Big Marcel Dorf, welcome back, my friend. Everything going okay with you?
Everything all right, man. Glad to be back. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. You know, I couldn't watch the fights live on Saturday. I mentioned this to you already because there was just all kinds of protesting and rioting and looting in my area of Chicago. I live close to the very high tourism areas, so that's where a majority of the protesters were. Lots of violence, lots of fireworks, lots of graffiti, everything of that nature. A lot of local businesses destroyed. It's very sad. But things do have to change in this world. I mean, we do want to end police brutality, and we do want to bring equality across the board. But is that the right way to do it? I think that's a discussion for other folks. But how about in the Netherlands? Has there been any kind of protests or rioting going on?
Not really rioting, but definitely protests, you know. So,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard for me to say anything about it because I'm not in the U.S., so I can't say anything what you guys have over there, you know. But I think we can agree that for us, everybody is the same, you know, same. Either if you're white, if you're black, you're Chinese, you're from wherever you are, we respect you where you're from. And
you're of Indonesian descent too, right?
Yeah, man.
You're Dutch and Indonesian, is that correct?
Yeah, it's from how do you say that? Before they was that colony, or how do you say that?
Yeah, colony.
Yeah, colony. Yeah, so it's Dutch East Indies before, and then went Indonesia, and then my dad left Indonesia when he was 3 years old.
Oh, okay. So he's lived in the Netherlands most of his life.
Yeah, definitely, man. But we have our roots there, you know. So we're pretty proud of it. So.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, we have something else in common. We are all MMA fans that are tuning in or participating in this podcast, and we have an incredible event coming up this weekend, UFC 250. But before that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. All the great shows, including Last Man Standing, MMA Yesterday, The Breakdown, of course, Euromaniacs featuring Marcel and UFC lightweight Stevie Ray. All the great shows, all the great content. Feel free to click subscribe. Leave us a review if you like what we're doing. But we are at the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. You can be wherever you find your podcasts. Last weekend, Big Marcel, quite a fun event at the UFC Apex facility. UFC on ESPN 9, I believe, was the official title of it. Favorites going 7-4 on the evening, and we both did pretty well. You ended up taking the win with a 9-2 record, 8-3 on the night for me. We both picked up a bonus point in Mackenzie Dern. Marcel had the fight of the night picked correctly last week, but then changed his pick to the Billy Quarantillo Spike Carlisle, which you could have picked either one. I mean, come on now. They were both incredible fights. It was a coin flip. We both hit on our underdog in Augusto Sakai and both hit on our lock in Mackenzie Dern. But real quick, Big Marcel, give us the quick rundown of UFC Apex, UFC on ESPN 9, lasting impressions on you.
Yeah, very fun card, I think. Many things stand out, man. I mean, great debut for Brendan Royval.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Burns, man, that was
props to Gilbert Burns on that victory, man. Well-rounded performance.
Number 1 ranked now in the division.
I was kind of surprised about that, but you know, props to him on that victory for sure.
I don't disagree on it, to be honest. Do you?
It's hard for me to take him as the number 1 contender over George Masvidal, but you know, I'd be happy to see either one of them. Quite frankly, I'd love to see a Gilbert Burns Colby Covington matchup. To be honest,
I'm cool with that, but we have to see. Listen, man, if Usman doesn't fight Masvidal, then we have to see Burns against Usman. In my opinion.
Yeah, I would hope so. But we look ahead. Let's just run down the standings real quick. On the year, Marcel leads 85-53 to myself, 79-59. You have 7 bonuses. I have 5. You have 9 of 12 underdogs. I have 6 of 12. And I have 10 of 12 locks. You have 8 of 12 locks. So Marcel, more underdog picks correctly than locks just shows you how unpredictable this sport is.
Yeah, definitely, man.
But we look ahead, UFC 250 this weekend. Also coming at you live from the UFC Apex facility. That comes at you Saturday, June 6th. Bout order courtesy of our good friend MMA Form Guide. Be sure to check his great content out on social media. It gives you all the great fight times, no matter where you are in the world. Very underutilized, undervalued tool, in my opinion. Look at anywhere you are in the world, you can find out the right fight times for the prelims, the early prelims, and the main card. So check out our good friend MMA Forum Guide. We start things off at a catch weight of 150 pounds between Herbert Burns and Evan Dunham. The Blaze, Herbert Burns, he really seems to be hitting his stride right now. He's 10-2. He is 32 years old. He's on a 4-fight win streak of all finishes coming out of Sanford MMA in South Florida. He knocked out Nate Landwehr in that UFC debut. That comes a week after the aforementioned win by his brother, Gilbert Burns, now the welterweight #1 contender. Evan Dunham, meanwhile, coming out of retirement to compete for the first time since September 2018. He has been finished in back-to-back fights and winless in his last 3. But this guy's durable. He's been in the UFC since 2009. He's faced the likes of Cowboy Cerrone, RDA, Edson Barbosa, among others. So, Marcel, we kick things off. A late notice addition at 150 here. Burns and Dunham, I should add, Burns is the minus 230 favorite. The comeback on Dunham is plus 180. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, man. I mean, when is the last time the UFC had 2 catchweight fights back to back on events? I think never.
It's understandable, though, given the situation.
Yeah, for sure, man. Evan Dunham, yeah, he pretty much said it all, man. You know, he hasn't won a fight since 2016. He was semi-retired, but as we all know, with the MMA fighters, they're retired and they come back. So Evan is back, fighting Herbert Burns. Herbert Burns, like many people say, doesn't really look like a Burns, but more like a little brother of Alistair Overeem. He did very well in his UFC debut, man. I mean, he KO'd Nate Landwehr. Before that, and pretty much a fight everybody knew he was going to win against Derek Minner. Let's be honest, no disrespect to Minner. Yeah. He got only 2 losses on his record, and this is against Idrisov, and this is against Kaibulaev, and Kaibulaev is a very good fighter in my opinion. Idrisov as well. So I'm taking Burns here all the way. Gilbert Burns, I'm taking him via submission in the second round, and getting that Burns streak going.
Yeah, that family
picking up where his brother left.
Exactly. Got to think the momentum is on the side of the Burns family. I'm going Burns 2. I don't like the layoff for Dunham, so I think Burns got the momentum going. So TKO for me in the second round for Mr. Burns. All right, light heavyweights on deck here. Devin the Brown Bear Clark is a plus 185 underdog against Fortis MMA's Alonzo Menafield, sitting at minus 225 as the betting favorite. Devin Clark, is he following the Paul Craig approach now, taking on multiple Fortis light heavyweights?
I want to say it.
I think after this fight, maybe he'll get that matched up against. Yeah, exactly. Clark is 11-4. He's alternated wins and losses in his last 7. He is coming off a decision win over Daquan Townsend. Menafield, meanwhile, 9-0 as a pro, twice competed on the Dana White's Contender Series, and he is 2-0 in the UFC, both finishes. Had 2 bouts since his last appearance in June 2019 get scrapped. Marcel, I'll go first here. I'm favoring Menafield all day to find the target and get it done with the hands. Got to avoid the takedowns, but I think he does it and knocks out Devin Clark, either late in the first or early in the second.
I agree with that, man. Alonzo Menafield, 2 times Dana White Contender Series fighter. 2 wins in the UFC, first round finishes against Vinicius Moreira, I won't say anything, and against Paul Craig. Yeah, I mean, Devin Clark doesn't look that bad at all in his fights, in my opinion, but it's not very consistent. And Menafield, I have high expectations from him, just like Ryan Spann. Those 2 are going to do very well in the light heavyweight division, I think, for this MMA. So, and they also have Kennedy and Zechiku, but I have to see more from him, man. You know, Alonzo all day, man. I think this fight can get him maybe the top 15.
And what's the method of victory?
A knockout in the second or first. I go second.
Okay. Right. Well, headlining the early prelims is a very high-profile flyweight fight. We've seen the flyweights put on spectacles the last few weeks. Juicy
They did
Formiga
for years.
for years, actually. You're right.
So you sound like Dana White, man. The last few weeks.
Yeah, but it's really been on display given that, a lot more eyeballs on the sport in the last few weeks with nothing else going on. Juicy Formiga is the number 4 ranked flyweight contender. He is the plus 120 underdog despite being ranked 5 slots ahead of the number 9 ranked Alex Perez at minus 140. Why don't you kick things off for us, Marcelino?
Man, I love this fight, man. It's way too low on the card.
Getting no love.
I tweeted about it, by the way. I know Perez really don't care. I talked to him about it. He said, like, yeah, whatever. I have to fight, and I have to win, and that's all what's about.
He seems like a chill guy. I haven't actually met him, but he seems like a pretty nice guy. He's nice to the media, and always want to engage with fans.
Very friendly. So Alex Perez, he looked good, and actually all of his fights in the UFC. He lost only against Joseph Benavidez, but he's on a 2-fight win streak against De La Rosa and Espinosa. That's honestly pretty much the lower guys in the flyweight division right now. Definitely De La Rosa, Espinosa. It's in the top 10, top 12 range, I think.
They go head-to-head coming up. What was that, next weekend, I think?
Ooh.
Jordan Espinosa and Mark De La Rosa going head-to-head.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Mark De La Rosa is not in the rankings, by the way, anymore because now, Roy Val came in at the 11, so, he got bumped out. Formiga, 2-fight losing streak, but man, I feel he won that fight against Moreno. People could say whatever they want. I think he won that fight against Moreno.
It was close.
It was close. It wasn't a robbery at all, but I think he won that fight. But yeah, this is a hard fight for me to pick this one, man, because I think Perez can do pretty well. But man, the takedowns of Formiga are relentless normally, and he has to win this one to at least stay in the top of the division. Man, I'm going for a little upset here. I'm taking Alex Perez via a TKO in the first round.
Well, he is the betting favorite, so he's not quite the upset that you imagine.
I think people are high on Perez and not so high on Formiga because he's a 2-fight losing streak. But in my opinion, if Perez wins this fight, it's an upset. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. You mentioned...
I don't give a fuck about the odds, dude.
I know, but you blatantly said I'm picking an underdog, which, yes, I actually agree with your statement, but according to the odds, he is the favorite. So I just want to clarify that is not an official underdog pick. Alex Perez trains at Team Oyama. Man, there's a lot of talent at and around 135 there. I mean, Marlon Chito Vera, Humberto Bondanay, Joe Soto, Carlos Esparza, Ashley Evan Smith, Luis Smoka. Lots of lower weight guys in that gym, so a good place to be training these days. Formiga, we know, out of Novo União, but that was the first time in his career he had lost back-to-back fights. And like you said, very close decision loss to Brandon Moreno. And competitive fight with Joseph Benavidez prior to that as well. And the fight before that, we know he knocked off the unclaimed UFC flyweight champion in Davison Figueiredo. Vegas is high on Perez, and he has been the favorite in all of the UFC bouts, but man, I have trouble picking against Formiga. I think he's a great striker. You mentioned the takedowns, nasty submissions. I think he can win this fight. I'm gonna go for the upset here. The betting line upset.
Picking against Perez again, dude.
Yeah. I've done it. I think I picked against him against Espinosa, but I did pick against him with Joseph Benavidez, and that one was correct. Formiga by let's go submission here, second round. I think he's going to land something on the feet and then snatch the neck.
Listen, man, if Formiga was Chinese, I would probably go for Formiga. So.
We go to middleweights for this next one. Charles Byrd taking on Maki Pitolo. Bird's the minus 165 favorite. The comeback on Pitolo's plus 145. Fortis MMA's Byrd is 10-6 as a pro, 1-2 in the UFC, but we have not seen him since a TKO loss to Edmund Shabazian in March of 2019, and we actually both picked him in that fight, Big Marcel, if you recall. He might be on the hot seat in this one, going 1-3 in those first 4, never a good look. Pitolo, meanwhile, enters the UFC via the Dana White Contender Series. I should also mention Byrd, 2-time Contender Series competitor. Pitolo made his UFC debut against Callan Potter in October as a minus 365 favorite at welterweight, but dropped a unanimous decision. Had a bout with Takashi Sato in February, scrapped. So Coconut Bombs back up to 185 for this one. Marcelino, who do you favor in this middleweight fight?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm always been high on Maki Pitolo, but was that an underwhelming performance against Callan Potter, or was it an underwhelming performance? I mean, my God. Yeah, and then we have on the other side, we have Charles Byrd. Wins two-time on the Contender Series, came in the UFC, defeated John Phillips like almost everybody does, and did very well against Darren Stewart, honestly. But he got finished in the second round, and Shabazian was over before it even started. But I'm feeling Byrd will bounce back from his two losses. Guy has a great team around him. I mean, I think he bounces back. I think he gets the win here via decision.
I'm a fan of Byrd. I like that, he's kind of a late, journey. He had a long journey to get to the UFC. Very underwhelming performance by Pitolo, but I think he'll be more comfortable at 185. Last time he did compete at the UFC Apex at 185. Quite a show, putting out Justin Sumter with ease. I'm going to take the underdog. Give me Pitolo via TKO. First round.
You can bring on the Apex, but Byrd is 2-0 in the Apex.
That's true. 2-0, 2 finishes too.
Yeah.
All right, well, we go down to 135 for this next one. Cody Stamann at number 12 in the rankings, the minus 265 favorite against Brian Boom Kelleher. Quick turnaround.
It's 45. Huh?
Oh, it's 45.
Yeah.
Oh, did not know that. Thank you to my co-host for pointing that out. Kelleher is the plus 225 underdog for this one. Cody Stamann, the Spartan out of Michigan, 18-2-1 as a pro. He's 34-1-1 in the UFC. That lone loss to Aljamain Sterling, was slated to meet Raoni Barcelos in March in Columbus. It's unfortunate that fight got scrapped. Would have been a great fight. Kelleher, 21-10, has won back-to-back fights in 2020, finishing O'Day Osborne and Hunter Azure. That Azure knockout came on May 13th. So he was behind in that fight too. Great finish for him. He netted $50,000 for a fight of the night bonus win in that one. So should be a fun one here at 145 pounds. Marcel, do you favor Stamann or Kelleher? Break this one down.
I mean, Stamann has looked good in the UFC so far. Questionable decision against Carrey, definitely, but good fight against Alejandro Perez. And I say it again, he got robbed against Song Yadong.
Sure did, in DC.
That wasn't a close fight at all, in my opinion. Song Yadong even got a point deduction. I mean, how can that be a majority decision?
He should be 5-1 in the UFC.
Yeah, definitely. Brian Kelleher. Problem with Brian Kelleher is every time I pick for him, he loses, and every time I pick against him, he wins. So Keith had, by the way, the same problem. 2-0 in his last two fights against two finishes against O'Day Osborne and against Hunter Azure, like you said. Actually has only losses in the UFC against very good guys, man. I mean, against Marlon Chito Vera, Montel Jackson, and John Lineker, who's now at one championship. All the other fights he won. He has a great win against Alcantara in his debut. He actually beat Renan Barao as well, the former champion.
He gave Damian Stashek a beating in there. That was just a one-sided, brutal beating.
True. And that was in Poland, actually, right?
Yeah, on the road.
Yeah, I remember him complaining on Twitter that the toilet paper in Poland was shitty. Yeah, literally. So, the thing is, I'm always picking against Kelleher. I'm going to do it again, so he probably wins this one, but Stamann, unanimous decision.
Yeah,
I think Stamann is... Huh?
Yeah, sorry.
I think Stamann is very underrated in the division, man. I don't think he gets credit that he deserves, so I'm sticking Stamann.
Me too. I think he's the more talented guy. He should be able to control the fight. I know I said the exact same thing about Hunter Azure, and he got knocked out, so can't count Boom out, but Stamann UD and unanimous decision for me. Middleweights, Gerald Meerschaert is the even money betting line against the number 13 ranked Ian Heinisch at minus 120. I was kind of surprised to see Heinisch still in the rankings coming off two losses, but granted, the two guys that beat him are ahead of him, so it makes sense. Great middleweight fight here, and I will let Marcel kick things off for us.
Yeah, Ian Heinisch, he came in with a bang in the UFC, right? Was the interim LFA champion, got bumped to the actual LFA champion after Anthony Hernandez got that UFC contract. And a month later, he won the UFC contract by defeating Justin Santos. So he went to the UFC, two great performances against Cesar Ferreira and against Shoeface, two wins, and then losses to Brunson and Akhmedov. On the other hand, we have Gerald Meerschaert. Meerschaert is very underrated in my opinion. Has a very strong ground game. Got a beautiful rear naked choke win against Darren Wynn in the third round in a fight that was crazy.
Yeah,
Win at this moments as well. Um, for that one, lost to Eric Anders by split decision in a fight I think he didn't lost, but
agreed.
whatever. Um, Before that, Trevin Giles wins. Before that, Kevin Holland lost, which he didn't lose in my opinion. Max disagrees with me, but yeah, whatever. Um, so in my opinion, if I look critically to this, his only losses are to Jack Hermanson and Thiago Santos, in my opinion. Meerschaert is very underrated. I see him getting the win here. I'm taking Gerald Meerschaert via a submission in the second round.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Gerald Meerschaert. He's a nice guy. I've met him at a few local jiu-jitsu tournaments, and I like all the guys at Rufus Sport. I think they have a nice cohesive unit there. Heinisch recently relocated from Factory X to Tiger Muay Thai, a gym that, man, so much talent coming out of that gym these days. But yeah, like you mentioned, 2-2 in the promotion now. What I was most impressed with Heinisch was his ability to avoid the takedown and the grappling attempts of Cesar Mutanch and as well as Antonio Carlos Jr. And I think he's going to land on the feet in this one and avoid those grappling exchanges. So give me Heinisch, either decision or a TKO. Let's go in the third round, Ian Heinisch.
That clip you sent me from Mike Biggie Rhodes and Tyron Woodley.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Mike Biggie Rhodes. Just a good guy. Always fun to interact with on
Yeah,
Twitter.
that's
All right,
right.
headlining the prelims is a featherweight fight between Chase Hooper and Alex Caceres. Hooper, the minus 165 favorite. The comeback on Bruce Leroy is plus 145. How the hell is Alex Caceres only 31? The dude has been in the UFC since March of 2011. That's 9+ years. He's alternated wins and losses in his last 6, but he's coming off that decision win over Steven Peterson last July. The Dream, Chase Hooper, notice that his new nickname now is 20. He was a Dana White Contender Series development program signee. He made his UFC debut last year with a TKO win over Daniel Tamor after getting him down, and man, maintained that strong position in grappling. It was impressive. I really thought he was going to lose that fight, but he stayed tough and got the finish. Great size for the weight class in Hooper. Marcel, Hooper and Caceres both kind of have those taller, lankier frames with long reach, so it could be an interesting one here. How do you see this one playing out?
It is a very weird fight, actually, in my opinion. I mean, Chase Hooper is the young guy, up and coming. He's actually what Alex Caceres was. It
In the
was
Ultimate
in
Fighter house.
2011. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he got. He's like Hooper is like 9-0 with one draw against Alcox or Alcox. I don't know what's his name again. Sorry.
I forget.
Yeah, at the Alcox or something. That was a split draw. Was in the Cage Fury.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a difficult fight for me to pick, man. I think the favorite will definitely be Hooper probably, but Caceres is a veteran, man. We saw when he takes on guys he should lose to, he always he always brings it, man. We saw him in this fight against Jair Rodriguez. Remember, a few years ago,
Yeah, very
he
close fight.
yeah, he made it very difficult for Jair. His only how do you say that definite losses were against Kron Gracie and Jason Knight, but also split against Wang Guang, which I think should have been a unanimous loss. But he looked pretty good against Steven Peterson. Um, Man, I'm taking Bruce Leroy here, man.
Decision?
Um, Submission, second round.
Submission, second round. I got to favor Caceres too. I think he wins that fight, but I think it's a decision. I think he outstrikes him on the feet. He may get taken down early, but I think he's gonna be able to kind of weather that storm and work his way out of there. Give me Bruce Leroy. And while you're mentioning some of the fights early in his career, I thought that Cole Miller fight, just kind of one-sided, very nice decision win there. And then I actually was live at the fight he fought Sergio Pettis in Chicago in 2014, dropped him on the feet, and then got the submission after in a fight he was behind probably.
It was also when Sergio was just coming up on the scene in the UFC, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, main card time. Bantamweights, I almost said lightweights, not even close. Sean O'Malley and Eddie Wineland take the main card opener here. The Sugar Show minus 475, no surprise, big betting favorite. Eddie Wineland, the one-time UFC title challenger, plus 380 as the betting underdog. O'Malley, one of the most popular rising talents in the game today, returned from that 2-year layoff in March to take out Jose Teco Quinones. He is now 11-0 as a pro, 3-0 in the UFC. He is only 25, and he comes out of the MMA lab. Eddie Wineland, meanwhile, former WEC champ back in the day, 24-13 and 6-7 in the UFC. But coming into this one off a TKO win over Gregory Popov in June of 2019, he was supposed to fight Marlon Chito Vera in Columbus, but the whole card ultimately scrapped due to the pandemic. I mean, Vegas all over Sean O'Malley. I can't see him losing this fight either, Big Marcel. I know Wineland's tough, won't go quietly, but I got to favor O'Malley to land the big shot and get him out of there in the first round. What do you think?
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, the UFC keeps giving O'Malley favorable matchups, in my opinion, man. I mean, Eddie Wineland is a veteran, 100% is a gritty fighter, but Eddie Wineland is not the Eddie Wineland for 5 years ago. So this will be another win probably for O'Malley. Likely gets him in the rankings. I would be upset if he gets in the rankings by a win against Eddie Wineland, but I wouldn't be surprised. I want to see Sean O'Malley fight guys like Casey Kenny,
Chito Vera,
Merab Dvalishvili, Nathaniel Wood. These guys I want to see him fight. You know, these guys don't get protected by the UFC. They get thrown into the line. Then give O'Malley also one of these guys. You know, we want to see O'Malley fight against guys from his age who are also trying to climb the rankings, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why they keep giving. Listen, I know you didn't agree with me with Quinones last time, but I told you, man, Quinones is probably the best guy in bantamweight with the least impressive guy with the best record at bantamweight. So I knew what was going to happen there, and I have the feeling, man, they're trying to build Sean O'Malley like that great superstar, but come on, man. I mean, why does he get these opportunities? Because he has a fun character or something? I mean, I don't really feel that. So I had a discussion with people. I had my top 5 from this weekend. Like, what's your top 5 fights? I didn't put O'Malley in it, and so people were like, oh, you don't like to see O'Malley fight?
I wouldn't either,
man.
No,
sorry.
I wouldn't pick it in top 5 either.
Nah, I mean, it's not that I don't like to see O'Malley fight, but it's the fight against who, which makes the fight interesting. And I'm not intrigued by this fight because I think this is a clear win for O'Malley. I also think he knocks him out in the first round.
I would have rather seen Sean O'Malley take on Cody Stamann and Brian Kelleher take on Eddie Wineland,
for example. But they are not doing that because they know Stamann is a threat to him. And Eddie Wineland is definitely also a threat, but less because he's not in his prime anymore. And Stamann is also working to his prime in the UFC.
Yeah.
And this is just, I don't like these kind of things, man. But it's not like I don't like O'Malley, and that's not true. But I'm just kind of stating the facts as I see them. Maybe it's not facts, but those are my facts. So O'Malley, first round knockout. And let's hope they match him up with a guy who is also climbing the rankings, man. I would love to see him fight Merab Dvalishvili. Merab called him out as well, so why not?
Be fun. Sign me up. I think this next fight's flying under the radar a little bit at welterweight. Yeah. Anthony Rocco Martin taking on Neil Magny. Magny, the slight favorite, minus 145. The comeback on Rocco Martin, plus 125. And we'll start with the division staple, Magny, who is 22-7 as a pro. He has been in the UFC since 2013, where he has amassed a 15-6 record with the promotion. That's pretty darn good. I mean, when you especially look at who he's fought over the years, he was 1-3 of 4, including his last fight, a unanimous decision win over Li Jingliang in March as a plus 150 underdog. Shout out to Max picking that one correctly. I just shouted out myself. 32 years old. He comes out of Elevation Fight Team in Colorado. Rocco Martin, meanwhile, is 30, 17-5 as a pro, 5-1 since moving up to 170 in 2018. He is coming off a decision win over the previously unbeaten Ramazan Emeev in November. And I just did the Brazilian thing again. It's Ramazan Emeev, and I did the Ramazan as if he's from Brazil. He's from Russia. What am I doing? Had that bout with David Zavada in April get scrapped. Marcel, this is a fun fight. I'm very excited about this one. Give us your thoughts.
It's definitely flying under the radar, man. Everybody's talking about the two bantamweight fights and the other one with O'Malley in it. So, and this one is in between, and nobody's talking about this one. It's a fun fight, I think. Neil Magny gets a lot of hate online from people. I have no idea why, because he's a really good guy, in my opinion. So, he kind of surprised me in his last fight, man, against Li Jingliang. He didn't surprise you, but he did surprise me. He did look very good against Chinese guy. Great fight from Magny. Solid decision win. Then we have Anthony Rocco Martin. Like I said to you, man, Anthony Rocco Martin is a very underrated fighter. I mean, in this last, 8 fights, in my opinion, he only lost to Damian Maia. The Olivier Aubert-Maché, I didn't agree with that decision.
And that was at lightweight. So when you look at the body of work at welterweight, 5-1.
The dude is just, in the beginning of the UFC when he was there, he didn't look that great in my opinion, but man, he's definitely a guy I want to see. I like to see him getting in the top 15, man. I think he definitely should be there. I think he's that good. I think this is a favorable matchup for him against Neil Magny, man. I mean, man, sorry to Magny, man, but I see Anthony Rocco Martin winning this one via decision.
I'm favoring Martin here too. He's been impressive at 170. That lone loss to Maia, I think he lands better on the feet. I don't see the Magny kind of clinch and take over and outwork your opponent type of approach here. Getting the win for him. I'm going to take Martin as well. Decision for me.
Martin is like a little bit like it's not really comparable, but the way I compare him to like Drew Dober,
Yeah,
he's like a very underrated guy, a guy you rather don't fight in the welterweight division, and Dober in the lightweight division, because you get a tough fight and it's very high risk, low reward kind of thing.
That's a really good comparison, because Dober had that matchup against Dariush that got submitted in, but other than that, just came right back. Back on the horse, and we could very well see that with Rocco Martin this weekend.
Yeah, and by the way, glad Rocco Martin gets this fight against Magny, because he was supposed to fight Zawada, and that didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, me neither. The third fight on the main card is ranked bantamweights between Aljo Sterling and Corey Sandhagen. Sterling at number 2 in the rankings, Sandhagen at number 4. Sterling the -115 favorite. Corey Sandhagen also at minus money, though, -105, so he is technically the underdog. Marcel, why don't you kick things off?
I hate this fight. Why do I hate this fight? First of all, why the hell is this under the co-main event and isn't this the co-main event? That kind of says me that the UFC doesn't see this as a number 1 contender fight. I hate this fight because it's not a week later and it's not a main event. It should be 5 rounds. I hate this fight because I don't want to see Sterling lose and I don't want to see Sandhagen lose. I hate this fight because it's literally nothing the UFC does do to promote this fight. Well, these are 2 top contenders in the division, in my opinion. I mean, even they put a fight above them with guys in the same division which are lower ranked. Doesn't make sense, and I don't give a fuck that Garbrandt was a former champion. That's just a disrespect these 2 guys getting. And then I see a tweet from Okamoto where Ali Abdelaziz said Moraes was supposed to fight Piotr Jan in Kazakhstan. That's true. And now Moraes likely wants to fight the winner of Sandhagen against Sterling. And I was like, we're really going to get this thing if one of these 2 guys just win and Garbrandt wins via impressive finish against Assunção. I see the UFC just making the winner of Jan Aldo against Cody Garbrandt. I see them doing that.
I do too, but it's unfortunate.
I know, but the UFC is just a bunch of bitches, so they're probably going to do it. So Back to this fight. It's a great matchup. It's a great matchup. I hate it because it doesn't. How do you say that? It doesn't have weight to it, which should have it. But Sterling, yeah, man, what can you say, man? Afterwards, Marlon Moraes KO, he won 4 straight against guys like Cody Stamen, Brad Johns, Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz. I mean, you can have less impressive names on
10-3 in the UFC now.
Amazing, man. And his hands have become much better than they were before.
Way better.
So, Sandhagen, man, also great in the UFC so far. 5-0, 3 finishes. And a win against Rafael Assunção, a split against Lineker, which should have been unanimous in my opinion as well. So he's looked very good. It's a very hard fight to pick for me. I'm taking Sterling, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sandhagen takes it. I think it's a very close fight. Very, very good matchup, but doesn't get the respect from the UFC that it should get.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about the title situation. This is the fight we're in. We got, so here's why we're breaking it down, but we both are on the same page there, disagree with it on many levels in terms of a booking. Aljo Sterling, I think you hit all the points I wanted to cover. Vast improvements in the striking. Really just he was passed over for a title shot. It's unfortunate, but here he is. Matt Serra, his coach, refers to his opponent as Corey Sandwagon, which I thought was funny. But Sandhagen, Elevation Fight Team, you mentioned the body of work, that lone career loss to UFC featherweight Jamal Emmers. It's unfortunate because he was slated to meet Frankie Edgar in January, which I think was a little bit more kind of fitting for where he was at in the division, but Edgar, we know, opted to take that main event slot against opted to take that main event against Korean Zombie in December. I love Matt Serra. I can't get enough of him. But I'll go the other way. Sandhagen, split decision for me, just with the feet. I think if it was 5 rounds, I'd actually favor Sterling in this one, but I'm going to go Sandhagen, a 3-round fight.
Should have been 5 rounds, man, this one.
The co-main event time is between lower-ranked bantamweights. The former UFC bantamweight champion, now number 9 in the rankings, Cody No Love Garbrandt, minus 155 is the betting favorite against Rafael Assunção at plus 135. The number 5 ranked bantamweight, Cody No Love, comes into this one off 3-fight losing streak. It was supposed to be in his home state of Columbus, but now it's in Vegas. Knocked out in all 3 of those fights. Brutally knocked out by Pedro Munoz last time out in March 2019. Assunção comes in off back-to-back losses to Moraes and Sandhagen. Marcel, Cody Garbrandt, does he get back on track? Does Rafael Assunção get a big win? Break this thing down for us.
I remember when these people saying, like, when Cody Garbrandt defeated Cruz, like, oh, this dude's going to be champion for years and this and that. And now he lost 3 times with knockout. And now it's like, this dude is chinny and blah, 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 blah. And it's pretty much the same people who were very high on him. And I think he's still a great fighter. I mean, Garbrandt is just a very solid guy. He only gets too emotional sometimes. And then he doesn't protect his chin and he goes all out, Rafael Assunção, very tough guy, very good fighter, very slick jiu-jitsu. He's pretty much the nightmare from the UFC in the bantamweight division, because if he does well, they rather don't give him a title shot because he barely speaks any shit to his opponents. He's always nice. He's a real gentleman inside and outside the cage. So the UFC heavily banking on Cody Garbrandt getting a win here. Let's put it this way. We already know if Assunção wins here, definitely the winner of Sterling Sandhagen gets a title shot. So that's unfortunate because I really like Assunção. Man, this is actually a difficult one. I think if Assunção can get this to the ground, he gives Cody a tough night, but I think Cody finds the opportunity to probably knock him out. So I'm taking Cody here. But I'll be very upset if the UFC gives Cody a title shot when he wins against Assunção. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think early, man. I think Cody has the best chance in the first round. I think if it goes through the later rounds, Assunção might take it. So taking Cody in the first round.
It's just hard to know what Cody Garbrandt's going to show up. Is it going to be the calculated one that so masterfully took out Dominic Cruz? I think the move to Mark Henry's gym will do him wonders, but or is it going to be that guy that's going to stand and try and take your lunch money, stand and bang? And Assunção's a vet, man. And also, he is a great striker in his own right. I'm doing it. I'm going to Sunsound by a knockout second round. I think he lands a head kick and follows up for a finish. I think it's kind of similar story as what we saw in the Munoz fight.
Man, they know why it's going to cry if that happens. I'm all for it.
Main event time for the UFC Featherweight Championship, another fight that virtually no one is talking about, but that's okay. The double champion, Amanda the Lioness Nunes, big favorite at minus 630 against the Canadian Felicia Spencer, who's not even ranked because there are no women featherweight rankings. She's plus 465 as the betting underdog. Amanda Nunes, the greatest of all time in terms of women's MMA, 2-division champ. What more does anyone else need to see? Defended that women's bantamweight belt earlier. Was that in 2019 or was that was in 2020, wasn't it? Jermaine Durandame, GDR.
2020, I think.
Yeah. Spencer, meanwhile,
no, it was 2019. That was the last.
You're right. Event. It was the end of the year with Covington and Usman as well.
Yeah.
Spencer is 2-1 in the UFC. He's coming off a win over Zara Farron. Lone loss was opposite Chris Cyborg, who we knew Amanda Nunes knocked out in the first round. Marcel, I mean, virtually everyone's picking Nunes. I want to hear your pick, but also how you see where do both these competitors go after this fight? Because I think that's a more interesting story to talk about.
Personally, I think they go to the dressing room to change their clothes. But to give a good answer to your question, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm taking Nunes 100%. Nothing against Spencer, but why would I go against Amanda Nunes? That's pretty crazy at this moment. Nunes will win this fight. I don't see it any other way. So, and she pretty much defeats every featherweight which is in the UFC right now. Let's be honest. I mean, also Megan Anderson keeps calling for a title shot. Let's don't do that. I mean, really, if Nunes wins this fight, please, no disrespect to the featherweights, but what is the point of keeping this division, honestly? I don't want to say I don't want to see girls get unemployed, but doesn't make sense to me, man. I'd rather see a atomweight division added in the UFC than a featherweight division. So that's my opinion. Taking Amanda Nunes via TKO in the first round. I mean, if she lands on Spencer, she's gone. Let's be honest. I think Spencer might have a good chance on the ground, but Nunes is also no slouch on the ground. So taking Nunes, I think she lands. I mean, the thing is, Nunes only had difficulties in the last fight against Jermaine Durandame with the standing because Durandame is a world-class kickboxing Muay Thai fighter. And really world-class. He's undefeated in kickboxing Muay Thai. So, and people really underestimate that. I said it in the podcast, man. I mean, she's not going to finish Durandame because Durandame is maybe on the ground. She was going to finish her with a submission or something, but definitely not with a knockout. And I knew that was going to happen, that she's not going to finish with a knockout. But I picked Nunes because Nunes is also, she fights with IQ, and that's a strong thing as well. She sees when she's not better on the feet, she takes it to the ground where she was better. And she's better on the feet than Spencer, miles better in my opinion. And Spencer can give her a run for her money on the ground, but Nunes all the way, man. I'm talking too much about this fight, Nunes.
I believe you. Nunes knockout first round save for me. Not really much more can be said. I'd rather see Felicia Spencer and the rest of the UFC women's featherweight division take a walk and go to another promotion like Bellator with a lot deeper of a roster, can really put together some good matchups rather than just kind of like playing around in this so-called division in the UFC. All right. Bonus time, and Marcel, you are up first for fight of the night.
Let's stick to my guns this time and don't change it right before fight night. I actually broke my own rule, man. I always say go with your first thing and never change it. And
I was surprised, but you know what? Like, I think it was not wrong. I will point that out.
I still think Carla and Carantillo should have got the fight of the night on.
Right.
Man. But yeah, what can you do? The thing is, I wanted to pick that at first, but they were low on the card. Also, Brandon Royval was low on the card against Elliott, but I felt that was more of a battle that could go either way, than that other one that was going to be wild and maybe done in the first or second round. But yeah, whatever. What was it? Fight of the night, right?
Yeah.
Sterling against Sandhagen is the first ever bonus money for Sterling. He should have gotten more before, but this is the first ever bonus money for Sterling.
Yeah.
I know he's annoyed about it that he never got one, and he deserved one. He had some weird submissions in the beginning of his career.
Yeah, that was that's a good option. I'm gonna go co-main event with a Sun Tzu and Cody Garbrandt. All right. My official performance of the night bonus winners are Amanda Nunes and Sean O'Malley with Rafael Assunção and Alonzo Menafield in the rear. Your hand out the two official and the two backup.
Yes, Cody Garbrandt, O'Malley, Menafield.
Okay. All right, underdog in the night. Your options are Gerald Meerschaert, or that might be it. Oh, Tony Martin, Anthony Rocco Martin.
One for Rocco.
Man, this is hard. My option, I'm gonna go with. My options are Formiga, Patolo, Rocco Martin, Sandhagen, or Sun Tzu. Give me a Sun Tzu. I like it. All right, and lock of the night for me, Nunes. How can you pick against her? How about for you, sir?
O'Malley.
Yeah, I figured it'd be those two. All right, let's recap this thing. Both have Herbert Burns over Evan Dunham. That could be a sleeper for Friday the night, by the way. Both have Alonzo Menafield over Devin Clark. I have Jussier Formiga. Big Marcel's got Alex Perez. I got Maki Patolo. He's got Charles Bird. Both have Cody Stamen over Brian Kelleher. I have Ian Heinisch. He has Gerald Meerschaert. Both have Alex Caceres. Oh, you could have picked Alex Caceres as an underdog. My apologies. Does that change your pick instead of Martin?
Nope.
I didn't think so. Both have Sean O'Malley over Eddie Wineland. Both have Rocco Martin over Neil Magny. I got Corey Sandhagen. He's got Aljo Sterling. I've got a Rafael Assunção. He's got Cody Garbrandt, and both have Amanda Nunes in the main event. Bonus winners, Friday the night, I'm going to Assunção Garbrandt. He's got Sterling Sandhagen. Performance bonus winners, I got Nunes and O'Malley. He's got Nunes and Garbrandt. Backups for me, Assunção and Menafield. O'Malley and Menafield for Marcel. Underdog of the night for me is Rafael Assunção, and for you it is Rocco Martin. And lock of the night for me is Amanda Nunes. Lock of the night for Marcel, Sean O'Malley. Marcel, what's the plan for UFC 250? Watching at home late at night because it's very late in the evening, early in the morning, Sunday in the Netherlands.
Definitely going to watch it, man. Of course. What do you think? Of course, with with a nice drink or maybe Ben and Jerry's. So really thinking.
I love Ben and Jerry's. You know, there's something about ice cream and the UFC fights. I love it.
Yeah, man. I mean, Ben and Jerry's, man. We're not getting sponsored, but if you're listening, we're open for suggestions.
Yeah.
But Ben and Jerry's, man, it's just amazing.
What's the go-to flavor?
Oh man, I love many. We have that Netflix and chill right now.
Oh, that is fantastic. That I had that. That was stellar.
What do you think about baked Alaska?
I don't know if I've had that.
It's like a white vanilla with a chocolate or a marshmallow swirl and a white chocolate bears.
That sounds fantastic. I want to go get me some tonight.
It's amazing. It's really good. Baked Alaska.
What if you're watching the fights, what's the drink of choice? Monster Energy, or are you making something stronger?
Yeah, it's mostly Monster Energy, Mango Loco, or that's A&W cream soda. It's not healthy. So
I haven't had one of those since I was a kid, but those are fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where can the people find and follow you on social media?
Marcel24, Twitter, Instagram, and you can find my work at MMADNA.nl, Facebook MMADNA, Instagram MMADNA, and Twitter MMADNA. And then I can now give the word to Trademark MMA himself.
Yeah, that's right. Find me on Twitter, Trademark MMA. Be sure to follow the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts, all the great content there. We will be back next week to break down. I don't know what the official event name is yet. I have it labeled as the June 13th event.
Against Caulfield.
Yeah, but we'll be back. Thank you again, and take care.